It's hard to do, and the president needs to learn this lesson. It's hard to do when you're vilifying the person for opposing. It's hard to do when you're condemning them and ascribing positions that they have that they really don't, and then knocking them down as foolish. Or not even meeting with them in the first place. This president has been as divisive a president in the history of our country. And yeah, I have very strong opinions on a lot of issues. But I also understand a word of wisdom I got when I first got elected to office. Someone went up to me and said, "What's the most important vote?" I said, "I don't know." I started, "Well, war." And he said, "Nope, the next one." He said, "Always remember there's another vote after this one. And that you have an obligation to shape the country in the way you want, to remember that you don't burn bridges on your votes. In other words, you don't go out and unfairly condemn somebody. If you disagree. But that's one of the problems that we have in this country. It's just, it's gotten too personal. And I'll be as passionate as anybody on these issues. But I always try to respect people who differ with me, because the next time when they agree with me, I don't want them not to work with me just because they don't like me. Right? Okay, well let me, okay, how many more questions do we have? 1, 2, okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take one from each section and I'll be quick. Okay, so you all agree on one, you agree on another. You guys all agree. Okay, how many questions over here? Okay, between the two of you, which one gets it? Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask
you. I guess he'll tell you.
Did I hear you right in saying that you will not repeal Obamacare?
Oh, no, I can't. I said I can't repeal Obamacare by executive order or by repealing regulations. You have to pass a repeal. The way I would do that, I'm sorry I didn't get to that, thank you for reminding me, is through something called the reconciliation process. You can't, unless I have 60 votes in the United States Senate to repeal Obamacare, then I'll have to do something short of overall outright repeal. And you can't do a waiver. Governor Romney said you can do a waiver. Well, you can do a waiver. South Carolina, Governor Haley will waive it. You guys in the legislature, you're not implementing any of Obamacare. You're fighting it right now. So you'll clearly waive it. But will California? So what will happen? The taxes will go into effect. South Carolinians will pay them, and you'll send your money to California. Everybody thinks that's a good idea. So a waiver doesn't work. And you can't, as another candidate said, repeal it by executive order. Can't do that. You can't repeal a law by executive order. So you have to go through the process, and that's why I need at least 3 Republican senators. There are 23 Democrats out of 33 total seats up for re-election. So we have a very good chance of picking up 3 seats. If we can do that, at least 3, then we can pass a budget. A budget can call for, which only needs 50 votes, and it can call for a saving of money, and then we can pass a repeal of Obamacare that will repeal the taxes, the spending, the fees, the fines. All the money can be stripped out of the bill, and you, in a sense, make it not worth the paper it's printed on.
Great. Very good.
Jump in first. Go ahead.
Thank you for coming to South Carolina. I am the wife of a veteran. I have 2 teenage boys that are already headed into the military, and I have a son-in-law that is just come back from his life. But, you know, my boy's going in, and I'm a supportive mother of this. But I would rather not see them deployed, but I would also rather them deployed instead of sitting back and watching the greatest country that's out here be bullied and bow down to these other ones. I mean, we're the top.
Let me assure you, one of the things that I like to talk about in this campaign is the experience I have, 8 years on the Armed Services Committee, working on national security legislation, and after I left the Senate, I spent 5 years writing and lecturing around the country on the problem of virulent radical Islam. It's an area that, having survived the events of 9/11 and seen that virulent face of radical Islam. I felt an obligation to try to educate the public as best I can as to the threat that they pose. And one of the greatest concerns I have with this administration is it is in complete either denial as to who the enemy is and what their objective is, or they have just chosen for political reasons to lie to the American public about what the problems that face this country. Either way, it is an abdication of responsibility of leadership to describe the enemy in honest terms, and the best way to describe the enemy as to what they are, who they are, and what they want to accomplish is to let them tell you. And they do. They tell us very specifically who they are. They tell us what they believe in. They tell us why they believe it. And they tell us what they're going to do to us. And we have a president who simply dismisses all of that as propaganda and says, oh no, none of this is really true. They really don't believe this. Ask the President of the United States if America is engaged in some sort of war with radical Islam. And he will say, no. In fact, all of his people, I think there was somebody recently, maybe it was Panetta, I can't remember, one of his guys who was out there and was asked that question. He said, no, we're not engaged in a war with radical Islam. Well, let me ask you this. Do radical Islamists believe they're at war with us for that reason? And the answer is they say they're in a holy war. And they're very clear about it. Yet we say, oh no, we're not. No, that's nothing to do with it. These are just, good old folks who just want power, and they really aren't motivated for any particular reason. They have no objective other than to, because they want to control their country, and this is just a means for them to do so. That's what they at least try to tell you. And it's a lie. It's an outright lie. And of course, they don't want to talk about it because they can't possibly think that anybody is motivated by faith to do anything. Right? It's just not within their realm of understanding. But they just can't believe that's the case. Well, you will have a President of the United States that will be honest with the American people. We will define our enemies. We will define our problems. I spent 45 minutes up in, I think it was Northfield, New Hampshire, talking about Social Security. Why? Because it's a very interesting, complex issue, and that the more we discuss it, the less rancor and anxiety there will be about how we solve it. It's almost like every problem. Fresh air and sunlight is a wonderful thing. And if you hide the ball and you just throw partisan jabs and try to have political power games, you don't get anything accomplished, and you create real anger and anxiety in America. And so that's why I have long town hall meetings and I give long answers to questions, and people don't realize why. I do it because I want to trust. I trust Americans. I didn't run to be President of the United States because I want to be the most powerful person in America. I ran because I want to give you the power back in America. Three of you.
President.
All right, guess you guys didn't want it bad enough.
Mr. President, excuse me, Senator. How will you, as President, glorify God?
Well, it's really interesting. CBS News sort of ran a little hit piece on my wife. We did an interview yesterday with CBN. And Karen, my wife, said that, I think they were asking her what she prays for, for me and for the family. And she said, well, I just pray that, Rick is inspired by the Holy Spirit in his words. And so they said, oh, Rick Santorum speaking for God. It's just dumb. It just shows such a lack of understanding. These are people who just have no clue. And so I'm very upfront about my faith. It's important to me. Every decision that I engage in, I try to bring both faith and reason, because they're both instructive to me. as to what the right course is, and it's important that we speak clearly on both wings, if you will, both faith and reason, for people of faith and people of no faith to understand why you're doing it and what you're doing. And so our family, and we pray a lot for the grace that we need to be able to be faithful to what we're called to do. And we've been called on a mission here, we feel, and we could be wrong. I don't have perfect knowledge, let me assure you. That's what we feel we've been called to do, and we continue to pray for the grace to do it as well as we can. And I'm not ashamed to, in fact, I'm very proud of the fact to thank God publicly for the grace that He's given me today, and hope that He continues. Two of you, anybody want to be magnanimous to the other, or do you just want to? Okay, they both are standing, so I guess the answer is no. All right, she'll defer. Go ahead.
She took one of my questions about Islam, but as an Army wife, what about the rules of engagement? It's one thing to send them off to war, but to know if they're playing twisties with the Taliban and catch and release, I want to know because my husband's looking at number 5.
I've always been uncomfortable with the rules of engagement in Afghanistan and in Iraq. I understand why they're there, but it seems like we do unnecessarily put our men and women in harm's way on a repeated basis with very little, in some cases, very little to show for it. And all I would say is that as Commander-in-Chief, I would order a review of that. I would personally get involved in that review in the sense of reading it, trying to understand it, and talking with people that I trust to make sure that we are not doing anything that is not absolutely necessary to protect our men and women in uniform and to help them accomplish their mission, which sometimes means holding back. I understand that because civilian casualties and other types of issues that come with being in country are certainly do affect mission, the ability to accomplish a mission. So I've heard this question, I've seen this far too much, and this will be a personal one for me because it's that important. Let me just thank everybody for being here. I'll give you both. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
See what being nice gets you?
I'll vote.
Vote. Are there? Oh, okay.
I'm the decision on personally for you, but I know that South Carolina is a big states' rights state, and Duke's a good speaker. So why should we, as South Carolinians, choose you over these?
Let me try to just do that in a way that's not out there picking on anybody else. I'll just walk through it. One is vision, and you're looking for someone with a conservative vision, one that has a vision that can be successful. Wall Street Journal analyzed our economic plan and said that ours was a bolder plan than Mitt Romney's plan, but not as bold as Newt Gingrich's. And I would accept that. He has a flat tax at 15%, and the other one has a flat tax at something else. And flat taxes never passed in the Congress. There's a reason for that, is flat taxes tend to shift a lot of the income tax burden away from higher income individuals and shifts it to those who are much more numerous in the middle income areas of our country. And so every time we have a flat tax proposal that gets anywhere, the vast majority of Americans put pen to paper and figure out they're paying more, not less, and a lot of people are going to pay a lot less. And it just never gets any legs and goes anywhere. So part of what I think, if you look at the visions I put out there, I put a vision out there that I think is bold for this country, but is doable for this country. In other words, putting plans out there that sound great and have no ability to get things done and don't have the political backing to help not only get them done, but help you get elected. And one of the reasons that I looked at, you heard the reasons I'm so bullish on this manufacturing park. This also happens to be very, very good politics. The areas of this country that are up for grabs in this next election all happen to be areas where manufacturing is very, very important to the economy. Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Missouri, Iowa. I mean, those are all fairly heavily manufacturing-centered parts of the country, and we win half those states, it's over. We elect the president on the Republican side. So I think you have to look at not just ideas, but look at ideas that are bold, that can get the economy going, or can help our education system, but also have a realistic opportunity of being accomplished. And I think if you look at all the candidates, I think I stack up better on that front that makes both policy sense, political sense, and the ability to bring this country together to do things. So that would be one. Two, you have to look at their records. I mean, I remember I was criticized, this was before I had my little bump in the polls in Iowa. All the pundits would say, Rick, you're not doing well because all you do is you go out there and you talk about what you're going to do, and then you spend time talking about your record. And the other guys, they just talk about what they're going to do. And they focus all their time on what they're going to do, and that's attracting more votes. And my response is, well, if I had their record, I'd only talk about what I was going to do too. We have a strong conservative record. We have a record of being for free market health care. We have a record of not buying into the lunacy of cap and trade or the big bank bailout. Or we have a record of reducing spending and reforming entitlements. And so these are all important issues in our country today. And so, yeah, I do talk about my record, and they don't because they don't have that kind of record. And I think, so looking at the record, because let me assure you, the other side's going to look at my record and look at Governor Romney's record on health care and say, well, you want to attack me on health care? Who are you to attack me on something that I used your plan to build my health care plan? I mean, we're just taking away the biggest issue that we have in this election when it comes to basic freedoms, and we've given it away with the nomination of Governor Romney. And so I just look at those. Finally, look at someone who's proven in the past that they can actually go out and run a campaign as a conservative and be successful. You have Congressman Gingrich, Congressman Paul, and who both were in Congress, never ran for statewide office, and had very safe Republican districts. You had Governor Perry, who ran as a Democrat when the Democrats were in charge of Texas, became a Republican when the Republicans became in charge of Texas, and ran as a conservative in Texas. How hard's that? I mean, and never was able and never did. I mean, he won his last election fairly narrowly for the state of Texas. Didn't have a whole lot of crossover votes. I mean, there's no record there of being able to attract the voters in the swing states of this country to his side. And finally, Governor Romney, he's run 3 races, lost 2. First race he ran as a liberal, lost to Ted Kennedy. And he actually claimed to be to the left of Kennedy on many issues when he did that. Secondly, he ran as a moderate and got elected in Massachusetts, didn't run for re-election, and then ran for president as a conservative. So sort of multiple choice. And so but again, I love this. So he's the most electable. It says who? Where's he ever proven that? He's the most electable because the establishment feels comfortable with him. Right? That's it. Well, they're not going to feel comfortable with me. I'm going to be out there talking about issues that are going to make them squirm. I'm going to be out there doing things and talking about how we build a good and just society from the bottom up, how we limit government, that we rely on faith and family, that we believe in the foundational values of this country, And we go out and rally the American public to remember who we are. And if that's your charge. If you leave here and say you're going to vote for me and do nothing else, we're not going to win. We're not going to win. We're not going to have the most money in this race. We have to have the most passion. We have to have people who really care, and who go out and talk at their church, go out and talk at their schools, go out and talk to their neighbors, at the grocery store, put the yard sign up, put the bumper sticker in their car, put that lapel pin, the lapel sticker, take 2 or 3, put them on all your coats, and go out and talk about us. Go out and make a difference. It's 10 days, folks. You have people, you have mothers here who have children and husbands who are sacrificing for freedom, putting their lives on the line. I'm asking for 10 days to strike a blow for freedom. Don't let America down. Thank you. God bless you.
Tonight, the senator's going to shake a few hands. Please take a yard sign. They're all over the place. If you will put it in your front yard. We need these signs out there. Okay? So thank you all for coming tonight. Plan on telling a neighbor, and let's get out and vote for the senator and get our next president elected. Thank you.